Good morning, folks. Lindsey Huddleston back with another Monday Motivation. I hope you're doing well. If you're in the mid-Michigan area, hope you're traveling safe. Got a lot of snow and all that stuff, but that can't stop starting off the week right. I'm very excited. A lot of great things to announce that'll be happening this week, including the SPS game of the week that'll be taking place in Jackson High School versus Tecumseh. That'll be on Friday the 14th down in Jackson. We're going to be launching more work with the SPS game of the week leading up to the Capital Day. It's going to be a mental health Capital Day taking place on Thursday, March 5th, but you will hear more about that. Be another SPS game of the week next week with Waverly High School and others, because we want to be able to not only promote great basketball, but also talk about mental toughness and mental health. So you hear that. But getting back to the topic of today, what's today's topic? A hard reset. Ever had to give a hard reset to your phone? To be able to shut it down so it can go back to its factory conditions. What do they define a hard reset as? A reset or a master reset in the restoration of a device, such as a smartphone or a tablet, to its state when it left the factory. All settings, applications, and data added by the user are removed. What's up, Brandon Peoples? You guys are doing some great ball playing over there at Crystal Way, sharing that #1 spot from what I understand. So what do I mean by a hard reset? Here we are, February, and in late December, January, everyone probably was talking about their goals for 2020. But so much has happened since then. My goodness, so much has happened in our personal lives, or just even on a larger scale, things that have kind of taken us off track. I don't care what you say. The death of Kobe Bryant has had an impact on people, because even if it triggered something that happened for you personally, it just has really kept us all captivated. We haven't even buried Kobe Bryant at this point, so that can have an impact. Noah, what's up, man? How you doing? Shout out to you and the boys doing good stuff. But what about this hard reset? What I'm getting at is most of us started out the year with great goals and plans, but in a short amount of time, it's only been 2 months, things have happened. As the big homie Dan Ringo says in his book, Airman, the CEO, you have death, disease, and divorce. These life-changing events happen. I've had things happen in my life in the past 6 months I never would have thought. But when these things happen, it's easy for it to get us off track of what we're focused on doing. It's easy for it to negatively impact things we do on a regular basis. Even if you're an athlete, you can have so many things on your mind, so many things going on, that the idea of a national championship or a state championship or even a Super Bowl can be impacted by all these things that have come up, and you need a hard reset. So what do I mean by that? How do we hard reset ourselves? We have to get back to basics. We have to go back to the things that we were striving for before these distractions like death, disease, and things like divorce come up in our life. I use those as example, the 3Ds that, like I said, my guy Dan Ringo talked about. Wu-Pain in the building. Get it in. We're talking about a hard reset, James. We're talking about getting back to your basics. Wu's a coach. Brandon's a coach. Even Noel's a coach. They know when you got to get your guys back to the basics. Get back to the basics and the fundamentals of who you are and what you're focused on. It's so easy for things to happen, and we find ourselves being what? Reactionary. Reacting to the things that are going on and not focused on what we said we're going to do. What are your basic principles? I experienced that myself, where I had so many things going on, I really realized it clouded what my original focus was. And when I focused on that, when I did that hard reset, when I got back to my basic principles, I found bliss. And what do we find bliss as? When you could be able to almost float or live in flow or just kind of move along. I'm not saying things are easy, but you're kind of following that small voice. You're following that instinctual feeling. And it's hard because society says we got to do this, 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 and this. Shout out to B Peoples. Can you get back to it? Can you get back to the principles that you were really focused on to begin with? And many times it may be something that people aren't really receptive to. They aren't open to your artistic ideas. They're not open to your creative ideas. They're not open to that little voice you have inside that's saying, go, go, go. But you have to follow that. That's your hard reset. Get back to your basic principles. Go back and review your vision board. Update your vision board. Go back and focus on what is it that you said you really, really wanted to do. What is it that you really, really wanted to accomplish? What did you really, really focus on? And get back to that. Give that phone and that brain a hard reset. Shut it down. Go back to the factory principles. You know, between the time you buy a new phone or a tablet, how many things do we add on to it? How many things do we add on that we may say, I use but aren't necessary. And you know what's important because after you do that hard reset, you go back to a few things first and foremost. It may be your social media platform. It may be, a certain app that helps you with your work. But you don't go back and get everything back after a hard reset. You focus on core things. If you ever had to lose numbers in your phone, God forbid you lose numbers, because sometimes if you don't know the number, you can forget about it. But when you go back, do you go back and pull your phone book up or try to load all the phone numbers if you have to? No, you got primary numbers you focused on. When you go back to that hard reset, Matt Micah representing out of DC, hope you're doing okay, man. When you go back to that hard reset, those basic core values that sometimes get overwhelmed when all these other things come into our life, all these other distractions, these unexpected things, whether it's death in your family, death of a loved one, ending a relationship, a divorce, as my guy Dan Ringo says, disease, something crazy happens you weren't expecting. Matt Mike is my guy. You know Matt. Matt wasn't expecting things that happened to his life, and Matt is getting back on point right now. I'm so happy he's doing that. Same thing with Wu, the things he experienced growing up and the things he had to overcome to go from where he was, to go from being the first guy from Wayne County Community College to go on and play Division I ball. Noel, I know the things you've seen in your past life as law enforcement really had to get you back to your core principles, which is working with young people and helping young people. Brandon's doing the same thing as a great coach over there at Crystal Ray. They hosted a SPS game in the week several weeks ago, but you have to get back to the basic principles. So let me try to wrap this up. There was an article that I read, and I'll try to do this with this time that I have, and I think it's really important to know. It was written by Dr. Twenge. I'm going to spell her name Twenge, Jean Twenge, PhD. It was titled Mental Health Issues Increased Significantly in Young Adults Over the Last Decade, and they say the shift may be due in part to a rise in digital media, studies suggest. I don't really have the time to go into the details of this article. It's a great article, but what it really talks about is how basically in the last decade, young people are being negatively impacted by social media in the way that other people are. Newsflash, right? We didn't know that, but here we have actually documented proof and research that supports that from Psychology Daily and Science Daily. What I'm getting at, Carl Williams, shout out, big bro. Representing A5A. What's up, Carl? Good to see you, man. Here's the thing as I get ready to wrap up. Social media and all these other things are impacting all our lives. I don't care if you're an older person or a younger person, it's impacting our lives in some way. And I think it's important that you get back to a hard reset, not for just your physical phone or your tablet, but for what your principles are. What are you focused on? It's so easy to get overwhelmed and become reactionary, and you're not moving toward a goal that you had. So get back to those basic principles. Do a hard reset. Sometimes coaches have to do with their players. When you have a player struggling with something very simple, it becomes very overwhelming. Sometimes you may have a player who has something that is normally easy, but it's difficult. Perfect examples in golf, they call it the yips. Scott Ray, how you doing, man? Kiki, how you doing, love? Hope Mr. Daniel's doing better in this recovery. In golf, they call it the yips. Something as simple as a putt. People become overwhelmed and can't even make a simple putt. My golfers know about that. So what I'm saying is you got to get back to your basic principles. And the last thing I'll say, hear me with this. You have to be able to get to a point where you can be in between the action. What do I mean by that? Where you're not so overwhelmed about the future outcome. You're not so overly concerned about what happened, but you're present in the moment. And when you do that, that's when you can find your bliss. That's when you can put all those worries, all those cares to the side. It doesn't mean you're not being responsible. Doesn't mean you don't want the best for your family. Doesn't mean you don't want the best for yourself, but you have to actually be in the moment to execute the best. If it's something as simple as a layup, sometimes we overthink it and we miss. Oh my God, I can't miss this. And what do? We miss it because we told the brain, we gave the brain the command. For my golfers, don't do this when you go out and golf, Scott, and you see the water hazard. Don't say, don't go on the water, because guess what the brain says? Water, and it goes to the water. Just be in the moment. Know that you're here to be successful. Know that you're going to have your ups and downs, and just focus on being in the moment. So give yourself that hard reset. Get back to those principles. Should it be something going on in your life that gets you up in the morning before the alarm clock? I was excited to get up and share these messages. I'm excited for the SPS game of the week. I'm excited for what we're going to be doing in March at the Capitol, a Capitol Day to talk about mental health for our young people and people throughout. So I'm getting to the 10-minute mark. I just hope that this was a message that can help you guys. You can go back and give yourself that hard reset. Go back and get back focused on your original goals and get out there and work and do it. And as I always say, work on your goals bit by bit, small pieces at a time to get there. And at the last thing I'll say, you got to believe you're here to succeed. You got to believe it. It's going to be hard, trials and tribulations, but you got to believe it. So 10-minute mark, I'll shut it down right there. I thank you all for supporting me, supporting SPS. SPS is going to be doing some major things going forward, helping our young people with not only mental toughness, but also with mental health. And I'm here to help you as well. So I wish you all the best and have a great week, and talk to you soon.